when the army of the Demon King, who wanted to destroy the world, was annihilated by a mysterious group led by a single human. Before anyone realized, they appeared in this world, gained power, and trampled on everything with their strong subordinates, the Hakai. When everyone least expected it, they pressed their blade against the Demon King's throat and ended him once and for all. As the Demon King was gasping for air, now about to face his death, he went on to ask the man who stabbed him for his name. The man then revealed that he is the Corpse King, the leader of Helheim. But not long after that incident, the Corpse King suddenly vanished. As it turns out, the Corpse King is actually an ordinary middle school student named Hizaki Shio when his entire class was summoned to another world. During that time, one by one, Shio lost his classmates and was eventually left alone. Because of this, he became obsessed with revenge and assumed the identity of the Corpse King. Because of the anger he felt for the enemies present in this world, he gathered a force capable of resisting the Demon King and formed a secret society called the Secret Society of Helheim. He then eventually defeated the Demon King and was forcibly sent back to his original world. However, all of his classmates who were killed never came back. Although only a month had passed in this world, it took him 5 years to return to his current life. Despite making it out alive, his good friends, the girl he liked, and even the guy whom he didn't get along with are all dead. Just thinking about them made Shio sad. So, as much as he could, he would try his best not to forget them all. Now that he is back to the real world, Shio slaps his face, trying to snap himself back to reality. He tells himself that it's now time to wake up. It's his high school graduation ceremony after all. Despite the survivor's guilt he's feeling, Shio knows that he still needs to live his life. As he headed to the bathroom, he was rather stunned when a girl suddenly came out of nowhere greeting him. The girl is wearing a rather straightforward shirt. The word God is imprinted upon it. As Shio enters the room, she goes on to call for his attention, but based on how pissed Shio looks at her, it's apparent they must have some sort of history. Since Shio had already defeated the Demon King, he's confused as to why this woman is here. When finally asked about it, God went on to state that Helheim, the secret society that Shio had created, is running rampant in her world, and she's asking him to do something about it. Although she had a hard time finding him amongst all the different worlds, she's glad that she finally made it to the right one. Since Shio had been forcibly sent back, he doesn't really know what's going on back in the other world, which is why God decided to make an effort and summoned him in person. The fact that God decided to get Shio herself just shows how bad those kids are acting up, and there's no other person who can stop them other than Shio himself. Although Shio was fine with this, before going back to that world again, he went on to ask God if his magic abilities would carry over from last time. But to his surprise, everything would actually be reset, which means the ice magic he had mastered to its very essence, as well as the unique ability that made him the Corpse King, would all be reset, and he'll need to work himself back to the top. Despite it being hard, since there is nothing Shio can do about it, he still accepted the request. After all, it can't be helped, considering what happens to people who leave that world. But to help him feel somewhat a little better, God went on to remind him that he has already repaid his debt to his students by defeating the Demon King, so she doesn't want him to beat himself up too much with all of this. After hearing those words from her, Shio was motivated to get back to the world and fix whatever problem it was that he managed to leave behind. After all, he is the one who formed Helheim in the first place, so it's only natural that he would be the one to take responsibility for what had happened. But before anything else, Shio also wonders about the seals of his members, to which God informs him that they are already gone. For her, even if those kids' seals had disappeared, she knows they'll believe in Shio and keep their promises. Flustered by what the god told him, Shio had no other choice but to help. However, he strongly believes that something else must be happening, considering that he can't imagine why Helheim would go wild. So to find out what it is, the god now summons Shio back to the other world. Meanwhile, at the secret society headquarters of Elgendir, one of what looks like Helheim's members looks like she's longing for the Corpse King's disappearance. With Shio gone from this world, the Hakai had scattered everywhere. So Nilf, the right hand of Shio, couldn't help but cry her eyes out, thinking that their leader might not come back anymore. As she starts to get worried about him, a loud bang catches their attention. Knowing that only Hakai and the Corpse King knew about this place, Nilf immediately went back to check on the noise. To her surprise, a girl named Garm appears out of nowhere, telling her that she can smell the Corpse King. Meanwhile, in a forest, somewhere around the area, Shio is seen having been successfully summoned. Before doing something rash again, Shio went ahead and checked his statuses first. Just as he had expected, His available ice magic is at level 1 at this point. Aside from that, he also managed to see the Blessing of Death, the ability that is the root of all evil. Demons, humans, or anything running rampant in this world are irrelevant. The more he defeats monsters, the stronger he becomes, which is a simple and clear, powerful, matchless ability. However, there was one caveat. The condition states, acquired according to the total number of friendly beings lost. Sheol still remembers how it felt when the ability of his dead classmates flowed into him. At that moment, he honestly thought he would go mad, experiencing all they had gone through. But now that they're all dead, Sheol used their abilities to defeat the Demon King. Despite being able to do so, Sheol couldn't help but get sad at the thought. That is why, this time around, he won't let that ability come into play. With a mission in mind, Sheol went straight ahead and cast a spell called Glacius to create a dagger as a weapon and started looking for Helheim's members. Meanwhile, back at the capital, the princess is taken to a number of nights after the reports of the Griffles sea trees being frozen out of nowhere. This was an odd occurrence, since, other than the demons and rebels living there, it was just a normal forest. This made the knights wonder if it could be the work of a high-ranking demon. As the knights plan on checking the forest, they asked the princess to stay behind. But the princess insisted that she should also come, as she was the heir to the royal bloodline that defeated the Demon King after all. Because of that, as the knights were dispatched, the princess also did some investigations on her own. As she got to the frozen forest, she was rather stunned by how frozen everything was, to the point that there were no traces of life anymore. Based on how the forest looked, the princess was certain that ice magic was definitely used on this one. Just the thought of it made the princess worry. There might have been a chance that this was the doing of a high-ranking demon. Then, suddenly, a rustling sound around the bushes alerts the princess. In wonder whether this could be a demon or an animal, the princess slowly walks towards it and takes a closer look. But to her surprise, it's actually Sheol. Seeing a person lying weak, the princess immediately rushes in to check on him, asking if he had been attacked by a demon. Panting, Sheol didn't even take that long to say that he was actually starving. Because of this, the princess decided to give him some of her packed snacks. While eating, Sheol expressed his gratitude towards the princess, stating that he really thought he was going to die out there because of starvation. The princess did not find this understandable, considering what had been happening with the forest lately. As they talk, Sheol notices the princess's family crest. Now that Sheol has already mentioned it, the princess went ahead and introduced herself as the 5th princess of the Holy Kingdom of Griffil, Asha el Griffil. After hearing that Asha referred to herself as the 5th princess, Sheol was in wonder as he didn't remember that there were any 5th princess last time he was in this world. Feeling quite offended by Sheol's words, Asha went on to explain that she was the descendant of the royal family that defeated the Demon King 180 years ago. Now this even made Sheol wonder more, since there was no way the royal family defeated the Demon King. He was the one who did that. As Sheol starts murmuring his thoughts to himself, Asha finally goes in to ask him on for his name. Before Sheol can even say it, a group of men appear out of nowhere, warning the princess not to move, or Sheol will be dead in no time. When the princess went on to ask the group if they were the ones responsible for freezing the whole forest, Lucas, the high-ranking official of the group, went on to reveal that they are part of the secret society Helheim. After hearing that, Sheol immediately knew that the situation indeed meant trouble, not just for him, but the princess as well. Now that they have the princess all handcuffed, Lucas went on to inform her that they have figured out that she would be here. Since the group was pretty sure that after hearing about the major disturbance in the forest, the Holy Kingdom's family would likely take action, but they didn't expect that they would catch the princess with someone else. Lucas then sarcastically assures the princess, telling her that they will treat her with respect, openly telling her that he would like her to accompany him when she is lonely. She told him that he deserved to die 10,000 deaths. Lucas then sighs and unexpectedly kicks Sheol in the head. The rest of the group then turns, kicking Sheol until he gets unconscious. Asha tried to stop them, telling them that Sheol had nothing to do with this. However, Lucas likes seeing the princess in distress, especially after knowing that she is skilled in martial arts and has a strong sense of justice. Lucas sees this opportunity to control someone like her and mock her power. While the princess is busy talking with Lucas, one of the members of Helheim asks Sheol for his name. As the true leader of the Helheim group, Sheol is quite confused about who these guys are, and he carelessly says that he doesn't know these guys either. Well, pretty much based on his memories at the very least. Hearing this triggered Lucas. Without hesitation, he went on to strike Sheol once again, telling him that he must know Helheim in his heart. Lucas then went on to say a bunch of nonsense, stating that he is one of the group's high-ranking members and he was the one who did this to the forest. This angered the princess much, but since she couldn't do much about it, Lucas enjoyed the moment, and even went so far as to warn her that he would teach her his special brand of terror. However, before he could go all out with it, Sheol shut him down, telling him that he personally thinks there's no person such as Lucas in Helheim. Now this angered Lucas, but Sheol couldn't care less. When Lucas thought that he could easily take down Sheol with his powers, Sheol showed his strength to everyone. Without anyone noticing, Sheol managed to free himself from being roped, shocking everyone. Now that he's free and can move freely, he went on ahead and told everyone that it's not cool to talk about the secret society out in the open. He tells them that it defeats its purpose. He also lectures the group, telling him that saying things like atrocious and inhumane are also lame. While everyone is confused about why Sheol is acting this way, all casual and like, Sheol started to continue that his group should lurk in the shadows more, lay out obscure motives, and be elusive. If the group were to spread across the world, then it wouldn't be a secret society anymore. But despite the bad reputation that Helheim had come in this world now, Sheol couldn't help but be thankful that the ones behind this atrocious behavior were not the members he once led. Lucas then asks him, with an irritated expression, what exactly he's talking about. Sheol then went ahead and ignored his question, and showed him who he truly was. With the powers bestowed upon him, Sheol tells Lucas a valuable lesson. Helheim's high-ranking members don't give out their names. And since Lucas didn't abide by that, Sheol finds him unfit for Helheim. Sheol didn't hesitate and froze everyone to death. Although Lucas was blabbering about the fact that he was the one who did this to the forest, Sheol knows well that Lucas is unaware that someone else did it, and not him. And because of that overconfidence and harsh behavior, Lucas, together with everyone he was with, got erased in an instant. After experiencing that unsightly and cringeworthy event, Sheol couldn't even believe that Helheim had really become that widespread. He can't seem to believe that his delusional fantasies spread across the entire world like that. On top of that, Sheol also started to get a bit embarrassed with the name Helheim. Oh, it was so typical of something he would come up with. Asha called out to him, readying her sword in case the fight escalates. She asks Sheol if he was the one who turned the forest like this. Sheol apologizes and explains that he did overdo it a little. As Sheol tries to get closer to her, Asha stops him and tells him to stay away for now. Then she continued with her interrogation, asking him what his objective was and why he was doing this. Still thinking to himself, Sheol was unsure. When he answered that it was because he wanted to annihilate the demons. The Demon King may be gone, but demons still roam in this world, slaughtering humans non-stop. So he thought that he would be able to explain to the princess that he just wanted to defeat them. He was sure that Asha would understand him then. However, even though Sheol spoke calmly, and even reassured her that he meant her no harm and was only doing this because he had a mission, his efforts did little to ease her fear. Her body trembled uncontrollably, and her eyes filled with panic. Sheol's presence alone seemed to suffocate the air around her, terrorizing her from within. Realizing that continuing to talk with the princess will build more misunderstanding between the two, Sheol quietly stepped back and decided to give the princess some space. Before things would escalate into a fight, he excused himself and told the princess that he will now be leaving. But just before he leaves, he turns to see the princess and finally introduces himself, telling her that his name is Sheol. Shocked after hearing his name, and before Asha can even ask more questions, Sheol immediately departs, leaving the princess with many questions in mind. Everyone in the kingdom thinks that the one who slayed the Demon King was their legendary hero, the same hero that was hailed as the founder of the Griffel royal family itself. But Sheol? Everyone in the kingdom pretty much remembered him as a monster, a ruthless villain who had slaughtered 32 of the hero's trusted companions. They also termed Sheol as a sinner, whose name was written in blood and sealed in history's darkest pages. Still trembling, Asha is still in deep shock from what had just happened. She couldn't bring herself to believe that the man she was talking to a while ago and trying to protect from those rude men was actually the Corpse King, the same man that made the whole nation fearful. Although there was still no assurance that Sheol was indeed the Corpse King, Asha makes it a decision and swears to herself that if Sheol did turn out to be the Corpse King, she will do everything to defeat him, no matter what, even if it costs her her life. But the question now is, will Asha be able to learn the truth regarding Sheol and the things he had done for the people, or will they be arch enemies from here on forward? Meanwhile, at the Helheim headquarters, the members of the secret society have been talking about the Griffel's sea of trees freezing over. It turns out that what happened to that place has also created quite a panic amongst private organizations like this one. One of the members, in their black robes, who looked like a higher-up, went on to state that the event can neither be a natural nor magical phenomena, though it's still possible that it's the doing of the Demon King or a high-ranking demon. But many of the members know that it is a baseless theory. So without any choice, the higher-ups went on to tell his members to tell the Emperor to wait for the news about the incident a while more. But deep inside, they do have a feeling that the Corpse King is now finally back. As it turns out, the person behind that black robe was Nidhogg, a girl who looked really excited to see the Corpse King again. Meanwhile, speaking of Xiao, while he's checking his stats, he managed to notice the Blessings of Death skill that he had before hadn't changed, just like when he had in his previous life. The mountain of corpses he ends up gathering by killing will push him to a higher level. To that point, killing demons becomes second nature. As the thought of doing those evil deeds comes rushing through his mind once more, he tries to brush it off immediately. Then, suddenly, he notices someone hiding in the bushes. As their presence starts to notify Xiao, the man didn't hesitate and went out to call for the two. It turns out that Garm and Nilf had finally found him. But before coming out, Xiao went on to sing the chant that he had come up with for the Helheim before, to assure the two that it was indeed him. As soon as they finally showed themselves, at first, the two didn't want to believe the man in front of them was indeed their Corpse King Xiao. Xiao, on the other hand, couldn't blame the girls, as he had been away for a long time as well. But seeing them really did make Xiao happy. It had probably been a long time since he had seen these two, and they had likely been waiting for him for a long time. He promises that he'll live up to their expectations while also apologizing for being away for so long. Seeing him in person this close once again made Nilf and Garm cry. They immediately rushed towards him, hugging him hard. Xiao tried to calm them down, telling them that there was nothing to worry about anymore, as he's finally back. As a little welcome gift, the two prepared him a cloak. Xiao really appreciated it. Xiao then locked in, stating that those who had assumed their name as a group will be crushed in no time. So, before it's too late, they'll have to move fast. But before leaving, Xiao felt a sudden heavy feeling at the back of his shoulders, as the thoughts of him killing so many people now came rushing in once again. Despite that, Xiao is eager to make everything right. He's even glad that he's now finally back. But before they start moving and executing their mission of taking out these so-called Helheim wannabes, Xiao made a decision to let his group know the truth, revealing to them that he was the one who froze the Griffle Sea of Trees, and also showed him the path that they took. So, to help their Corpse King, Nilf went ahead and checked the maps, and based on her observation, it seems like they were around a plain, and this terrain in the area had changed over many decades due to the influence of magic and demons. As she reminisces about the good old days, Nilf suddenly feels sad when she realizes that a lot of things had changed since Xiao had left. One example being that these supposedly unexplored areas look like they had been surveyed in just the last few years. The map that Xiao showed provides merely a great bird-eye view, but unfortunately, things aren't the same anymore. Seeing how down Nilf is, Xiao went ahead and assured her that it is much better than nothing. Although things had changed a lot since they were last seen in these lands, Xiao still looks at the brighter side. Since they still have a lot of things to do, if they want to gather information in this area, Xiao knows the perfect place to get all the information they need. And that is the town of explorers, Got. Even hearing this plan, both Nilf and Garm were excited to visit the town, as they themselves hadn't been to that town in a long time now. But before that, Xiao wonders to himself again, quietly contemplating the fact that where people gather, information gathers. Now that he thought of it, they might also find information on those who claim to be Helheim and doing as they please, which is, by the way, something that Xiao is really up against. Xiao's poised demeanor and very kind behavior made Garm admire him more. At this point, the little girl couldn't help but be proud of the fact that this man is indeed their leader. But Garm went on to jokingly state that after hearing Xiao say that, he just sounded like a normal guy. Thinking that Xiao might get offended, Nilf immediately cuts Garm down, telling her that there's nothing that their king can't do, while also adding that she personally thinks that it's not hard to play the role of the harmless gentleman from time to time. At this point, after hearing Garm's comments, he couldn't help but think to himself that he is just being himself. With that said, now that they had already created a plan, Xiao plans on sticking to it for now. Although, he didn't forget to inform both Nilf and Garm that he is weaker than he was in his prime, trying to make them understand that this has happened for an unknown reason. That is why he'll have no choice but to count on the both of them from now on. And without even hesitating, after their king asks for help, the two didn't hesitate and assured Xiao that they would protect him, even at the costs of their lives. Aside from that, they both seemed quite delighted with what Xiao had just said, as they never really expected that Xiao would ask them such a favor. After all, this is the first time they had ever heard Xiao count on them. Xiao somehow finds their statement quite funny, since all this time he felt like he had been relying on both of them for help. But seeing how devoted they are to him gave Xiao the strength and motivation to go even better and go stronger from this day forward. Just as when they thought everything would fall back into place now, Xiao was shocked when a sudden loud bang was heard echoing through the forest. To their surprise, as they turned their heads around, they were rather stunned when a demon appeared right in front of them. This intermediate monster is definitely one of a kind. Finally realizing that this unexplored area of the forest has at least level 5 monsters, felt Shio feel a bit worried himself. But since this is the perfect time for the two of them to show off their skills and prove that they are indeed someone worthy of Shio's trust, Garm immediately volunteered to take care of the monster on her own, assuring Shio that she is indeed someone reliable. Considering how enthusiastic Garm is about it, Shio went ahead and let her do the work on her own. Without hesitation, Garm went ahead and showed off her real skill. As the monster started approaching, she even tried to provoke it by sticking her tongue out, seemingly trying to mock it for some reason. Although the monster landed a devastating hit on Garm. Shio found the monster weak enough for her to take care of it though. Although there was no denying that this monster was strong, Garm knew all about it, and that there was no way it had tricks up its sleeve. Meanwhile, seeing Garm go made Shio happy, as this was quite literally her forte. With just one move, Garm went on to unleash her beast form called the Indestructible Beast Body. Seeing her transform never failed to amaze Shio every time. Garm's ability is indeed one of a kind. The Indestructible Beast Body is a defensive ability that renders Garm invulnerable to any and all injuries except those that are fatal. Thus, for an enemy to defeat Garm, they'd need to execute a one-hit takedown that would annihilate her instantly. As a beast folk, Garm is innately physically resilient, yet among them, Garm has exceptionally high abilities. Truly, she is the extra and extraordinary. With that said, when Garm was finally able to take down the monster on her own, Shio immediately went to her and told her that he was proud of her power. Since Garm is now covered in blood, Nilf went on to clean her face with a towel, telling her she is just as troublesome as she was before. While the two of them are now discussing, Shio, on the side, is just happily smiling, thankful that Garm and Nilf are on his side. Meanwhile, as Shio's group is busy taking down such monsters, at the town of explorers, Got, something is happening. Although it is known that the city of Got is lively and quite a peaceful one, the explorers in the area are quite in a frenzy right now. So as soon as Shio and the girls arrived in town, they were immediately in wonder as to what was going on. But before anything else, Shio couldn't even deny how nostalgic this town was. As the memories of his past started rushing in, Shio remembered that this was the first town he had visited when he was first summoned into this world. During that time, none of them, even his classmates, knew about what was going to happen to them next. With nothing they could do, Shio couldn't help but feel a bit bitter from remembering those memories. It was so hard for Shio that his expression immediately changed. As his saddened expression started to show, Garm immediately went to check in on him, asking him if there was something bothering him. Knowing that Garm worries too much about him, Shio goes on to brush her hair and assures her that it's nothing to worry about. Considering there are still a lot of things they need to take care of, Shio didn't want to waste a minute and asked the girls if they could start gathering information now. For the longest time, Shio was not here. He couldn't seem to expect that a lot of things had already happened. Among these long lists of problems, the group that's pretending to be Helheim is definitely one of Shio's biggest problems. Since he had put in a lot of effort into building such a reputable group, Shio would definitely not allow anyone to destroy it easily. That's why he can't simply discard the possibility that his high-ranking members are involved. But if they were, the damage would be much, much worse. However, based on Shio's observation, the damage didn't seem that bad at all. Nonetheless, he knows to himself that he still needs to stop everything and also stop thinking about unnecessary things. Before acquiring the success they aimed for, Shio plans on investigating and knowing more about these people's trials, their behaviors, and even their purpose. By knowing at least 3 of these vital things, Shio knows that he'll definitely be able to defeat them in no time. To start off the mission, the group went on to explore the Explorers Guild in Got. Based on the looks of it, the explorers here are a mix of the strongest to the most timid-looking adventurers one could ever see. But one thing is for sure, these men are definitely stronger than one may have thought. So to start off, Shio went on to try opening up a conversation with one of these explorers, asking them if they might be willing to talk. Based on the explorer's demeanor, from his hair and eye color, to his armor resembling novice-level leather equipment, Shio is certain that these are level 2 to 3 explorers coming from the same hometown as the others, which makes him confident that these explorers could be dull as white during fights. With this, Shio is confident that there's a good chance they'll talk if forced. While the explorer is drinking as much booze as his stomach can take, Shio waits for the perfect timing. Moments later, the explorer finally finished a number of bottles, causing him to want to throw up. A girl who had been sitting beside him this whole time tried to call for him, suggesting that she should come take care of him, but the man insisted that she should stay behind for now, assuring that he was indeed fine. As the man left to take care of his business, Shio grabbed this opportunity to talk to the girl alone. The girl immediately went on to snub Shio, telling him that she's drinking with her guy pal, seemingly trying to build boundaries with a stranger like Shio. But Shio didn't listen, and went ahead and sat beside her, causing her to get a little annoyed. Meanwhile, with an endearing look, Shiel tried to provoke her with his finger placements while telling her that he just wanted to ask her a few things. As the girl's face suddenly started to turn red from all the blushing, a sudden flashback appeared out of nowhere. In this flashback, a short-haired girl named Hizaki Hyoka is seen walking down the school field wearing her cutesy school uniform. Her cute face is captivating, and her presence itself can turn heads instantly. Students couldn't help but admire her, as if she were a character straight out of some romance manga. Among the number of students looking at her, a nervous boy gathered all his courage to approach her. With cheeks slightly flushed, he went on to greet her with a very shy greeting anyone could barely hear. Hyoka, still composed and quite nonchalant, went on to return his greeting with a casual response and immediately moved away. As Hyoka started to get away, the boy tried to push his luck, asking Hyoka to go out on a date with him since school ended early today. Without hesitation, Hyoka immediately declines his invitation and explains that she already had plans with her brother. Although her immediate answer clearly crushed the boy's feelings, the boy decided to force a smile and let Hyoka be and respect her answer. Little did they know, Hyoka just has someone she likes personally. That's why no matter how many people tried to court her, her heart had already belonged to someone else. And this person is her brother, Hizaki Shio. Yeah, the Corpse King, Shio. There, happy? I said it. Anyways, it turned out that Shio actually had a little sister back when they were still in the real world. Hyoka really fell for her brother for various reasons. For instance, Shio's face is handsome because he takes after their parents. But aside from his beautiful face, what really made her fall for her brother is his kindness towards other people, especially his family. However, if Hyoka were to be particular, Shio was really gentle with her as she is with his younger sister. In other words, Hyoka sees her brother as someone who's not just incredibly good-looking, kind, and the epitome of the opposite gender, but also someone who is close to her since they were a child. Anyways, after that description, I could go for some mouthwash. Anyone else? Maybe for your eyes? Her obsession was large enough that she wasn't even interested in the love affairs between people her age. But things really changed when people in the school were transported to this other world. Everyone starts to panic about what's going on, scared for their lives. Hyoka stood out, not because she was loud, but because she was calm about the whole situation. She tried not to panic while holding her composure with an almost eerie steadiness, doing her best not to add to the growing hysteria around her. She looked around with narrowed eyes, taking in the surreal situation they were in now. While she tries to figure out what's happening in the silence, the other students then notice that they have been transported to a place that's all white, with nothing in it but them. They can't possibly see anything with how bright the surroundings are, almost blinding them. No one has an idea about what's going on, and they're all unsure of what to do next. Just when they thought things weren't going to get any worse, out of nowhere, a familiar woman appears, with the word God stricken on her shirt. Everyone's surprised, and the girl sighs, seemingly trying to give everyone that good luck expression about what's going to happen to them next. As she was about to talk to everyone with a bubbly expression, the girl went on to inform everyone that they were all going to be summoned to another world, and she wished them the best on their next journey. Hearing this further confused everyone, especially Hyoka. This made them all wonder just what oddness was waiting for them on the other side. Everyone couldn't believe that they're now in another world, or let's just say, they don't want to believe it's even possible. The students then ask themselves if they're in an isekai of some sort, while the others are genuinely curious about what is happening, just like any other typical teenager. The introverts start mocking the extroverts for not even knowing how otherworld summonings work. Quite irritated at the fact that they got dragged out of their classroom and just ended up in this unknown place, the students annoyingly ask the goddess to bring them all back to their classroom. Instead of explaining to them what's happening, the goddess just went on to laugh it out, assuring the kids she'll make sure each of them is properly taken care of. So before leaving, she tries to calm everyone out, telling them to just enjoy their life in this new world from now on. But before the goddess could even take them to the said world, Hyoka went straight to the point and told the goddess that she didn't want to go to this place at all. But with a serious tone and glare, the goddess made it clear to everyone that she wasn't technically the one who forced the summoning. So if everyone has problems and questions as to why they're even here, the goddess tells them that it would be much better if they tell that to the locals who summoned them directly instead. Although the conversation was quite intense for the most part, the goddess went back to being energetic and told everyone it's now finally time for them to have some fun. But before anything else, she tells everyone that each of them who decides to go to the other world will be given an ability. This ability is known as a special power, which some might call a skill. Although this power is often used to help the summoner's goals, the goddess also makes it clear to everyone that they are free to use it however they like. But above all, according to the goddess, what makes this place so much more fun than the previous one is that there will be no studies or work. In this world, anyone could surround themselves with a man or woman they like, or pursue money or fame. Since they already spend quite a lot of time just explaining the basic information of this world, it's finally instructed them on how they will be able to enter this world. Everyone will be transported in the order in which they touch the sphere. Now that she has already finished all the briefing that these kids needed, the goddess asks them to finally go ahead and enter their new world one by one. After finding out all the fun things that they would be able to do inside this new world, the students immediately rushed into the sphere, excited to start their new life. Meanwhile, the same boy who shot his shot with Hyoka a while ago invited her to step in together with him. However, Hyoka was quick to tell him that he could go ahead first, since she still wanted to think about all of this alone. Since the rest of the group had already decided, Hyoka can't really do much about convincing them to think of this again. As everyone steps into the portal, the goddess reminds Hyoka that if she does not go, the portal will close soon. Now this made the young girl wonder what would happen to her if she decided not to go at all. The goddess immediately informs her that if she doesn't go, she'll end up getting trapped in this pure white space forever. So Hyoka tried her best to ask the goddess to return her to the real world. However, the goddess had already decided and would not take any requests from anyone. Because of this, Hyoka thought that maybe by murdering this woman, she would be able to escape. But unfortunately enough, since this goddess is an entity, she can't technically die. However, the goddess is quite amazed at Hyoka's tenacity and fearlessness. So due to her curiosity, she went on to ask the young girl her name. When Hyoka finally revealed her name, the goddess finally connected the dots and realized that this is Shio's sibling. To convince her to come, the goddess goes on to tell Hyoka that she already knows everything about her brother and what happened to him. Hearing that, Hyoka is already dying of curiosity. Considering her brother had already disappeared for about a month a while back, Hyoka ends up wondering if this woman really knows about her brother's secrets. If so, can she return home just like Shio did? At this point, the goddess goes on to inform her that in Shio's case, once he achieves his goal, he can immediately return to the real world. This simply means that getting out of this place is a one-way ticket with no guarantee of returning. Since Hyoka technically doesn't have a choice but to dive into this unknown place, her finally getting in means that everyone in the group has now entered their new world. This makes the goddess wonder just how many people will survive this time around. Or will there be anyone who will survive this chaos now? Meanwhile, going back to Shio, he is now starting to have a chat with the girl he met at the tavern. He goes on to inform her that he just came into this town, but there seems to be some ruckus happening already. Based on what he heard, an intermediate demon appeared in the level 3 unexplored area, called the Battlefield Cage. To make matters worse, it seems like there have also been reports that state that there's been a string of missing persons there as well. So Shio wonders if, in a place like this girl is even okay. Still blushing, she went on to state that it was just an intermediate demon clad in something like armor, and everyone's been saying that the demon is the one responsible for all of this. Considering Shio looks like he's so interested in all of this, the girl suggested that he should just take a look at the missing persons search request board to know more about it. Looking at how serious Shio's demeanor was, the girl couldn't help but blush a little. Shio went silent for a bit, so the girl had a chance to admire his beauty. When Shio finally spoke again, the girl was immediately caught off guard. Before Shio even forgets it, he also went on to ask the girl if she is aware of Helheim, which is quite well known in the Empire these days. Shio is really curious if she knows what sort of things the group is up to. Now that Shio had mentioned it, the girl does remember that this group had something to do with the demon's tribe's wishes and the like. Based on what she heard, Helheim seems to continually be abducting, mugging, and massacring around the Empire. She is certain that if they continue to do all of these things, they'll surely be wanted all over the continent. After hearing all that, Shio immediately thanks her for her help. Then, suddenly, the girl's male companion from a while ago, named Ando, goes on to call her Neem, which is probably her name. Looking at her face so red, Ando wonders what happened. As Neem was about to introduce him to Shio, she turned around, and she was stunned that she saw that Shio was nowhere to be found anymore. Meanwhile, in the slum area of the town, Nilf is seen asking everyone inside a tavern for information about Helheim. Although the men inside didn't really take her seriously at first, but when she finally exerted her power and dominance, the boys eventually let the chief talk to her instead. Straightforwardly, Nilf asked the chief to give her every information they had about Helheim. those that are fresh as possible. The chief was quick to tell her that there's nothing much concrete at all since the group is mostly of the gossip category. However, there's one thing, one that may be related to the rising uproar right now. When suddenly, as the chief was about to grab his cup, which he had already moved, he was stunned to see that it was back in its original position. At that moment, he finally realized that the woman before his eyes was the information dealer who controls time. Just her existence in itself was already the biggest news for these people. So the chief didn't intend to get any information from her anymore. With that, Nilf didn't really get much info at all. Going back to Garm, using her supersonic hearing powers, she tried to listen to everyone's conversation that would give them information about the Helheim group. However, with the overflowing amount of information, she starts to get a little frustrated already. At this point, she finally starts to regret not bringing along the Corpse King or even Nilf to help her with this. Then, suddenly, Shio calls for her. She immediately heads to the inn where they're staying to finally start their meeting. There, the three of them went to lay out the information they were able to gather. Combining what the three of them had gathered, they can conclude two things. First, there are about 7 missing persons already, the first of whom went missing 1 month ago. On top of that, the intermediate demon is the one that Garm and the company defeated. If so, Nilf is certain that there is a human intervention in all of this, since demons replenish their mana by taking the life force of others. Besides, there's no way an intermediate demon could survive in such a low-level, unexplored area, which means someone is feeding it. So to find out more about it, Shio decided to head back to the battlefield cage, as they may find their answers there. Meanwhile, at the so-called battlefield cage, a secret zone hidden beneath the hollow ruins of an ancient battlefield, 3 men made quite the discovery. Hidden deep in the underground, where explorers look for something new and exciting, they stumbled upon a lifeless suit of armor lying on the cold floor. It wasn't just discarded gear, but there were clear signs that whoever had worn it had met a violent end. This discovery really shocked the group, to the point that they began to question who could have done such a thing. The place was so remote and difficult to reach, so it's really hard to imagine a regular explorer causing something like this. But one of the men in the group is certain that whoever it was, this person was far from ordinary, and definitely someone dangerous. Despite their concern, they still couldn't make sense of it at all. Eventually, one of the 3 suggested returning to town, maybe regroup and report this incident to the authorities, or simply walk away before things got worse. However, another man in the group hesitated and insisted that they stay behind, since, according to him, one of his teammates had died recently in this area. He wanted to retrieve his fallen comrade's explorer cards. So, without any choice, and also out of respect or maybe guilt, the other 2 decided to stay with him a little longer. So, the group pushed forward, soon entering a narrow cave opening that seemed untouched. It looked like it hadn't been explored in ages, but the deeper they went, the more uneasy things became. After a while, they reached a dead end, with nowhere to move forward. Confused, the 2 men turned around to speak to their newly found companion, only to realize something strange. Without warning, the ground beneath them gave way, and the 2 suddenly fell through the hidden trapdoor, tumbling into a strange underground space. Shaken and disoriented, one of the men who was wearing eyeglasses called out for help, believing the 3rd guy would come to their aid. He even forced a weak, awkward smile, hoping that the man above them would give them a little support. But the man didn't come to do what they had expected him to. Instead, the 2 were left speechless when they finally realized that there were dead bodies of explorers scattered around them. At this point, it finally hit them that something wasn't right about the man they trusted, and now it might be too late for them to escape. They start to get nervous, their feet go cold, and their eyes widen, trying to be alert. As they scanned the dead bodies, they were stunned when they found one chilling discovery. According to the man they talked to a while ago, there were only supposed to be 2 of the explorers here, but the bodies they counted were 3. As they looked at one of the cards, they saw the man's Explorer registration card beside the dead bodies, indicating that the man who they were talking to was actually among the dead lying there. Trembling now in fear and confusion, the 2 asked the man above them who he really is, but instead of answering, the man just smiled at them as he transformed into his true form, while muttering the words, "Mission accomplished." Then, before they even realized it, a number of creatures are now coming their way, about to attack and feast on them. To make it worse, the man they were trying to help was actually the 57th high-ranking demon, Supreme Commander Osei. While being eaten alive, Osei cheers and celebrates his successful hunt once again. Osei is one of the higher-ranking demons. These greater demons have intelligence equal to or surpassing humans. They are malicious beings who serve the king and devour humanity. They assign themselves ranks from the top, which they call from the king to sovereign to the duke, marquis, and the count. Meanwhile, a commander is a title outside of the standard hierarchy. Commanders tend to command other demons and draw out their power through them. Although they are not dangerous by themselves, they are still extremely cunning. Commander Osei, for instance, is a commander demon that has the ability to alter himself into other life forms. At this point, slowly but surely, he had already transformed a number of explorers into demons, and they had finally reached this point. Though it was unexpected that his prototype, which is his prized transformation, was destroyed. With this many mid-rank demons gathered, Osei is certain that the Demon King's awakening is near, and their great dream is within reach. But all of a sudden, Sheol's group enters the scene, quite unamused at what the high-ranking demon had done. But now that they had finally confirmed their theory, it is time for Sheol and the girls to show this demon who the boss really is. Back to Sheol's sister, Hyoka. It seems like she and the other students had finally made it to the other world. Surprisingly, they were transported into a room with a high ceiling. It looks like the insides of a castle at an angle for some reason. Everyone starts to feel a bit dizzy, and when Hyoka finally gets in as well, she immediately scans the area to see what's happening. Now that they're finally here, a deep voice suddenly caught everyone's attention. Since Hyoka, who the man called the last hero, had finally arrived, he now decides to start his speech. But before anything else, the king-looking man with the long beard welcomes everyone to the holy kingdom of Griffil. The man then introduced himself as Dart El Griffil, the king of this realm. Without hesitation, he went on to beg each and every one to help his country. Quite confused about what was happening, the students stay silent for a moment. King Dart then went on to state that his country is now facing a great problem. He wants these so-called heroes to help them stop the atrocities committed by Helheim, which the king sees as the manifestation of this world's evilness. Despite the power the kingdom has, the king begs these newly found heroes to slay the Corpse King with everything they've got. Then, King Dart finally introduces his daughter Asha to everyone and informs them that Asha is the summoner chosen by the Orb of Transmigration. With that being said, Asha had been tasked to watch over the new heroes and accompany them all through their journey to this place. He even informs everyone that from now on, Asha will serve as their guide. At this point, Hyoka couldn't really understand why everyone in this world is just deciding everything on their own. So, to show a little bit of respect for everyone, Asha goes on to formally introduce herself to everyone as the 5th princess of the kingdom. Just like her father did, she also begs these high school students to lend them their strength in this fight. But before they could even do such a thing, Asha informed everyone that they would need to assess their special abilities first to know what they're good at. Although the goddess had already mentioned it a while ago, the students still don't know a thing about this. So it was natural for them to ask questions regarding what these special abilities are in the first place. Some speculated that maybe it's a power that will enable them to shoot fire from their hands. Though other students who were thinking rather immaturely go on to beg Asha to give them a cheat skill of some sort. Hearing her classmates blabber about these kinds of things frustrates Hyoka, to the point that the only thing she can think about right now is going home. Eventually, the group made it to the arena where their skills would be assessed. So to ensure that nothing is missed, Asha decided to test them all out one at a time. But what the students didn't expect was that they were actually going to fight with the real soldiers who can use real weapons. However, while the others are sweating this fight, Hyoka looks calm. In fact, as soon as she stepped into the arena, the spot where she stepped onto immediately turned to ice. Immediately, Asha wonders if she was able to use ice magic of some sort. This is a shocker for everyone, especially those who live in this world, since ice magic was lost in the modern age. And now, the only one who was able to wield it is the Corpse King. Now, hearing this also shocked Asha, since she wasn't technically expecting someone like that to even still exist. Based on the assessment, Hyoka actually possessed usable ice magic that is still at level 1. Aside from that, she also has a special ability called the Beloved of the Silver Star, which in icy environments, magic and physical power are greatly enhanced. On top of that, it also grants auto-dodge and auto-counterattack functions. What really gave away Hyoka is the fact that her title in this world is Corpse Ice King's sister, which serves as proof that she has caught the curiosity of a god. On top of that, she also breaks down the growth limit of ice magic like her brother. With that said, now that Asha had mentioned it, Hyoka can't help but wonder if they're talking about her big brother, Shio.